Hello and welcome to Joyful, the podcast that will help you live a more joyful life. I'm your host, Chloe Markham, and it's my mission to help you find more joy every single day. This podcast is a deep dive into ways to reduce your stress, your overwhelm, anxiety, and that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, whilst also diving into the methods, philosophies, and protocols that help us live more connected, grounded, and ultimately happier lives. This is about living life on purpose. Without any further ado, let's dive into today's episode. How's your life right now, today, in this moment? Can you take a big breath in? Pause at the top just for a sec. Relax your jaw, your forehead, shoulders. And then let it go, sigh it out. I bet you needed that, because boy, I did. Ugh, give your shoulders a little wiggle. I don't know what you're doing right now. Maybe you're driving. Please please don't take your eyes off the road. But just give yourself a moment and see how you're feeling. And I suppose that's a good preface, isn't it? I'm talking about the nervous system again. Big surprise there. But it's important and it fuels a lot of stuff, and decisions being one of those things. I'm going to tell you a story about this time I accidentally made a terrible decision. Look, it's not a life-changing decision. It's just a really funny example of where you are right now in your nervous system being a really important thing when it comes to the decisions you're making and the way that you're interacting with reality and yourself and each other, you know what I mean, people. All right, so you probably know by now if you've listened this far into the pod, I'm a yoga teacher. I got qualified in Bali with my favourite yoga teacher, Ian Finn. Shout out Blissology. And so, you know, Bali's a long way away from Yorkshire, where I live. And, you know, flights are involved and all that. And so, yeah, okay. If you've not been on long-haul flights, I just want to kind of picture this scene for you. You're basically trapped in a very horrible, small place that's quite noisy, like for hours and hours and hours next to people you don't know who potentially smell bad, who fall asleep on you. And the seats are small. Thank God I'm only 5'2". But it's nightmarish. I've got a little bit of claustrophobia as well. It just kind of adds, you know, to this nightmare scenario of long-haul flights. I mean, look, there are means to an end. I went to Bali. Come on, Jesus. Have I got anything to moan about? Not really. But I'm moaning anyway, alright? I'm a privileged person, moaning anyway. And that flight out to Bali was a daytime flight. Not a good idea. So if you take nothing else from this podcast, this episode right now, when you're booking long-haul flights, book them at night. And more about that in a moment. But it was a daytime flight, so you know, you're not prepped for sleep. You are wide awake for 12 hours. It was, yeah, honestly, the stuff of nightmares. Just, I think, quite traumatizing. Anyway, that's kind of the basis on which the rest of this story hangs. Nightmare flight. And I get to Bali and I spend, I don't know, 5 weeks in Bali doing my thing. It's very hot. Yes, great. But you know, yoga, brilliant. And then, so at the time, my stepsister, Naomi, she was living in Singapore. Very handy, because I got to stay with her. And it's kind of, it breaks up the journey, right? So you fly from Australia, however long that takes, I don't know, 7 hours? I'm not sure. And I get to Singapore and I got to just relax there for a bit. So I was with her for a few days and I was thinking about this flight again, right? Like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do hellish nightmare long haul again. Fuck. I don't want to be in that position. It was horrible. I would pay money to not be in that position again. So I was there like scrabbling around, panicking. You know, like I was freaking out. So I was like, what could I do? What could I do? I could upgrade maybe, right? So in a kind of panic, I was tired and run down. I was hungry, right, for like my own routines again. You could say I was sitting in my fight or flight in my nervous system, I started to look for, what is it, like an upgrade, right? How much is an upgrade? How much can I do? Can I pay to upgrade to business class or whatever, right? So I get, more of a semblance of a bed. And because of all of that, I was rushing and I saw, oh my God, upgrade, £85 or something, right? It was cheap as far as I was concerned. Hell yes, take my money. So I paid for it and I sat back on Naomi's sofa and I was like, oh, I'm the smuggest bitch in this land right now. Fuck yes, I get to fly in an upgraded seat from Singapore to Amsterdam. Oh my God. So I leave Naomi's apartment and I head to the airport, go through everything at the airport, and I realise I haven't booked an upgrade for this long haul flight from Singapore to Amsterdam. What I've actually done is booked an upgrade from Amsterdam to Leeds Bradford, approximately a 3-hour flight. So, oh shit. But I just want to say, I slept the whole time. It was a nighttime flight, and this is why I'm saying, if you're doing long haul, my friend, please book a nighttime flight, because you're gonna sleep through it. I fell asleep, it was like 11 p.m, and I woke up and thought, hey, that's a really good half an hour gone of this 12-hour flight. I looked at my watch and I'd slept for like 10 hours. So, brilliant. I watched a movie, I felt really good, and I got on the plane, the next flight from Amsterdam, and it was a tiny little plane, and I was separated from everybody else by a little curtain. The seats were the same. This was my upgrade, right? And I got a free sandwich. It was probably the most expensive sandwich I have ever bought. So, I mean, look, was that a terrible decision? It wasn't the worst decision in the world. It was only like 80 quid, whatever. I've not been destitute from that. And it was a funny story that I'm telling you now. And look, my lessons in life are long haul, go nighttime flights, long haul. But the reason I'm talking about this is because when I made that decision, and like I mentioned a few moments ago, it was like a panic. I was in fight or flight. I was rushing. I wasn't being, I suppose, thorough. I wasn't grounded or calm. So I was in this kind of, what might define as a sympathetic branch of my nervous system. And my whole point being is, like, when we're in that part of our nervous system, a little bit anxious, a lot anxious, overwhelmed, stressed out, we make pretty terrible decisions and big, juicy mistakes. And look, that mistake, thankfully, wasn't that bad. But there have been plenty of mistakes in your life, in my life, that have been really bad. Maybe like staying with the wrong person. That's a bad decision, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. We've all been there. You know what I'm saying. So if we flip that around then, and imagine for a moment, and it's so ironic, isn't it? Because I went to Bali to do my yoga teacher training. I should have been in a place of calm. I wasn't. And actually, a yoga teacher training is brilliant, and it was fantastic. I couldn't say anything negative about that training. But it's like learning to drive, isn't it? You actually start learning to drive once you've passed your test. And here I am, however many years on, like nearly a decade on. And the stuff I've learned has been, life lessons, really. And so now I have this resource to come back on, all of the tools and knowledge that I have, to know that, okay, if we can use these tools, practice these habits, align ourselves with this protocol, then I know that I'm way more likely to be in a calm, easygoing, relaxed place, even when things go wrong, even when challenges are thrown your way. Even when I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to upgrade this flight because I want to avoid what happened last time. Maybe I would have sat back and thought, well, you know what? I'm probably going to sleep. It's a nighttime flight. Maybe I'll just not. Also, that's the Amsterdam flight, so let's not do that. If I was able to be slower instead of rushing, Who knows? I probably wouldn't have made that mistake. But what I'm saying really, and the takeaway from this is, it's a nervous system response. You're going to make more mistakes. You're going to be a dick to more people. You're going to be crueler to yourself. You're going to make bad decisions. Life isn't going to go that well for you. That's a really big threat, isn't it? That's a really big word, phrase to say. But it's kind of true, you know? When we're in a constant place of fight and flight. And I just want to remind you, constant social media, your email notifications on your phone, watching the news, listening to the news, being on call all the time. And I mean on call as in being notified. You have to jump with every notification and every phone call and every ring of the doorbell. Being kind of, oh, I have to deal with this right now. All of this stuff creates low level or more higher level anxiety and overwhelm and stress. Not getting enough sleep is the same thing. Not moving our bodies in kind ways, in the ways that bring us joy. Not even like not taking time out, not resting properly. And by resting properly, I don't mean, you know, let's watch Netflix. It's not really resting in the way that I mean. So what do we do then? Because life is all of these things, unfortunately, especially if you run a business or you're, you know, working to build your social media brand, or you have children, Jesus, or, you know, you work a lot. I'm not saying any of those things are bad. They're not. But we need to have some rules around them and some habits and tools in our lives that nurture us as well, so that, sure, these things are going to spike our cortisol and get us stressed and all of that. Life happens. But we need the tools to be like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to unspike that now. I'm going to come back to rest and digest and ease, right, by doing this. So a couple of things I'd recommend is really managing your social media time, is really limiting the time that you spend on social media. There's a great app called Opal. It's free, and you can set limits on social apps so that you can scroll for 5 minutes a day or half an hour a day, whatever limit you want. I would also recommend turning off notifications, especially your emails, if you can. Obviously, I'm in a bit of a privileged position. I run my own business. I get to kind of have those boundaries in place. But if you can, absolutely turn those notifications off, like Facebook messages, Instagram, social media stuff. I would say turn all of those notifications off. You don't need to know when someone's liked your post or when someone's commented, because you can say, hey, if it's important to you, you can say, I'm going to do my social media stuff every day for an hour, right? So say it's like 9 a.m. every day. You're going to check your socials, whatever time that would be. And then you reply to people. Then you know, I don't know, comment on whatever your social strategy, plan, enjoyment thing is. You do it at that particular time. And when you're not in that particular time, you're not getting notified. You're not getting pings and constant drip feeding of this low level anxiety. And I promise you, so I'm in, again, very privileged position to have two phones. I have my work phone, which is all my emails, my client stuff, social media on one phone. I use that when I'm at my desk or I'm working, and it's brilliant. When I'm not working, so whenever time, again, I work for myself, so I get to determine what time that is, but whenever the time is that I'm not working, that phone is on silent and it's on my desk and I don't use it. So if I'm watching Netflix, I'm not double screening because my personal phone doesn't have social media on it at all. I just have my personal emails, you know, messages from my friends, from my people, and that's it. I play chess on it sometimes. That's kind of all I'm getting to on that phone. That's all the kind of time I spend on that phone. Or listening to podcasts or whatever, but it's my stuff, right? So if you can, if that's something that you've been thinking about or wondering about, I recommend the double work phone, personal phone thing. I think it creates amazing boundaries, and it can be really impactful for your nervous system health and support. But otherwise, can I just re-emphasize it again? Set some boundaries between you and all of these things that are causing you probably unknown levels of anxiety, that are spiking your nervous system to respond in a fight or flight kind of way. And then also prioritize your sleep, baby. Prioritize your sleep. Prioritize your sleep. Don't eat close to bedtime. All this kind of stuff. If you're a TYR member, go into the courses section. There's a whole sleep module and a little printable checklist as well. It's important. This is a really important nervous system step. And once we do these things, let me just remind you, once you take care of your sleep and you're, not being sucked into socials and all your notifications, and you don't spring every time your phone buzzes, you make better decisions. You are kinder to yourself, you're able to slow down, you're kinder to other people, you can more effectively problem solve, make decisions. I've said that already, haven't I? But you know what I mean. What a wonderful foundation for living a more joyful life that is. Isn't it? How wild is that? How wonderful is that? It's important. It's really important. And not only that, but living in this slower, more at ease nervous system place is also wonderfully beneficial for your health, right? Compare stress to not stress, right? I mean, we all know how bad stress is for us, and this is the opposite of that. So I encourage you to think about the way that you can set up your boundaries. Boundaries, 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 baby. And, long haul flights, book them for nighttime. Yay, we're all learning here. And I hope you get a long haul flight in your life at some point soon. That would be fun. I wonder where you'd go. Where would I go? Canada. I really do want to go to Vancouver. Yeah, Pacific, what is it called? Pacific Northwest, where it's like rainy and big trees and big bears, which terrify the hell out of me. But anyway, that's that. I just want to finally say before I switch off that there's going to be a tiny change to the podcast soon. I want you I'm going to leave a link in the show notes to my brand new website. I'm changing some things, I'm taking a step into a new direction, and I'm super excited about it. I've been doing it for a while, but now it's like, I'm going to make this a public thing. So check out my new website below and watch this space for a little change to the TYR podcast. But, nothing's going to change in terms of my waffle. I'm still here to deliver you stuff that helps your life be more joyful, always. Thank you so much for listening, my friend. I hope you're feeling sparkly and inspired to live a more joyful life. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a rating. These things are invaluable to me, and share it with people who need it. This is about inspiring more people to be more connected and lead happier and more joyful lives. Join my inner circle for more inspiration. Learn more at the website theyogarevolution.co.uk and chloemarkham.co.uk. I'll see you in the next episode.